film of Batman 66.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, where he with that when Adam West was still alive and Burt Ward, him were doing animated, DC films. He played Two-Face.
Nice.
And because it's funny because you could totally see like back then when they were doing freaking the show during the 60s, during that era, you could totally see him playing Two-Face, like William Shatner.
I don't know, man.
Excuse me.
Other Batman villains. I can see him play a penguin.
The Penguin. It's William Shatner's the Penguin.
Shatner Penguin. Yeah.
I'd be down to see that. Him replacing Burgess Meredith. who owns that role? I mean.
What about a Shatner Robin?
Shatner is Robin. I don't think
in the tidy whities, bro.
I think he would be a little upset, not just because of the tidy whities, but because he's playing second banana. You're saying I'm not gonna play Batman?
No, it's this guy. Adam West shows up. Hey, Shatner.
Hey, Bill. Everyone calls him Bill. Everyone who knows William Shatner calls him Bill, Like,
and they call him Bill Shat for short.
Bill Shat. with his girdle.
There's always someone in the background on set just laughing.
every time there's a fart
Bill
noise.
Shat.
Hey, Bill. It's Bill Shat the bed. There's this funny video. It's actually a pretty cool video called the Star Trek Summit. And it's like this panel discussion with Whoopi Goldberg hosting because she was on Next Gen. She was a Guinan on Next Generation.
Okay. I was gonna say that's random, but
no. She ran 10 forward and everything, but she's hosting, and it's Sir Patrick Stewart.
Very nice.
I always forget Jonathan Frakes, who played Riker in Next Gen, who's his number one, and Leonard Nimoy. Spock and William Shatner, and they're all talking about their different experiences on the movies and the shows and everything. And Whoopi Goldberg.
What year?
This is probably around the time of the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek film. So around that time, or maybe even a little bit before. I don't know, but
so it wasn't for a specific movie or a show. It was just a random interview.
It may have been like an anniversary thing, because there's a whole production behind it. Right? Yeah, like it comes off as like a DVD extra and shit. So there's like lights, camera, and everything. There's a crew.
Angles.
Yeah, it's really cool to watch. Actually, I'd recommend it. But there's a point where Whoopi Goldberg is saying to William Shatner, "I wanted to thank you because." Back in the 60s when I was growing up watching the original series and Star Trek and everything, it's sci-fi, there weren't any black women in space or on TV until like Uhura, Nichelle Nichols as Uhura in the original series. And she's like, and that made me want to be an actor. That inspired me and everything. And then I got to play Guinan on Next Gen and everything. And then William Shatner pretty much interrupts her and says, I had nothing to do with that, right?
What do you mean? He was just like very humbly like, thank you, but that just happened.
If it was up to me, I would say no to a black woman in space.
I had another woman in mind.
People come up and gush, because I know you go to the conventions and people stop you on the stage and, oh my God, you changed my life.
That was electric. Did you feel that electricity?
I did, but I was ignoring it because I know your wife is here.
Yeah. And then he made out with her. It was great. Hello, everybody. My name is Julius, and I am here with another podcast on this channel. The second episode.
Number 2. Number
dos. Part 2, as we call it. I am Julius, once again, and I'm here with a new person. It's not Brian. It is actually a celebrity. The star of my opus, the podcast. It is Mr. Andrew.
Curio.
Andrew Curio. That sounds like that's a nasty ass name, dude. I'm sorry.
It's a love child of me and Brian.
Can I give you some advice?
Yeah.
Don't get closer to Brian than you are, because if you become like really good friends with Brian, his firstborn he's probably going to name it after you. Andrew Curio.
I mean, I could see that. It's a very fucking common name,
Andrew Curio?
No, not Curio.
Or
just
Andrew.
Andrew. Yeah, in general. But no, I like that our set was very method. You know, like we just stayed far away from each other, zero contact.
Yeah.
I look at him and I spit on him. Dude. The adversity, it's there.
Well, let's, before we talk about the movie we're going to talk about, because we have a specific film. I mean, you all know what it is at this point if you're watching, but I want to talk to you since you are now you're an actor. You know, you first of all, you're great in the podcast.
Thank you.
You know, you did a really good job, especially since this was your first real, like, foyer, is that the term? First
venture,
venture into acting for like a film. Not that this is a big feature studio, whatever. It's a short film and everything, but
there's a certain level of commitment and that you give to an idea where you're like, yeah, I can wear it with, like, yeah, I can say I did this, you know, so I can say, yeah, I wasn't just helping my buddy out in his movie. I can say that I tried to act, and I feel like I did act, so, yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
So talk about the process of being first asked by your annoying friend who wrote a short film.
Well, it was...
And then to cameras.
If I'm being honest, man.
Yeah.
Here's the tell-all. All right, the listeners.
The expose.
I hate now. Just
you could turn into Justin. Are you a fucking dictator, man?
What the fuck is your problem? So honestly, when you came to me, what was it, at the start of the year or at the end of the other year?
It was around April of last year.
So the start of the year.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
These were when things were happening, and things were like, I think. Well, things were slowing, and I was eager for things to start happening again.
In your life?
And just in general. Yeah, in life. And including with things with my friends. Like, I know you had your ongoing projects, but hearing about your little project, this writing project of yours, it was exciting. But for you to come out and just say, hey, I finished the script, I was like, what the very excited, eager to hear it.
Yeah.
I think, how long did it take after you told me the news for us to meet up and start doing the read? I think it was
finishing up a draft and then showing it to you.
Yeah.
How long that was? That was probably a couple days, maybe.
Right? Like, I think you had said it's not ready yet, but I'm just like, I don't care. Yeah. Like, I want to read it. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's an accomplishment. Like, people can dream of writing something their entire lives, and you actually did it, and you like worked on it. It wasn't just one draft and done. Like, no, you perfected it to your best ability. You gave it to your friends, your not just random friends, but people who like movies and to get their point of view of things. And so I was immediately flattered, I would say, because of the first few pages when I was reading, like, oh, it's centered on an Uber driver, right? I was like, I wonder where you got that idea, right? But also, like, I really was immediately hooked on where you were going to take that idea, especially because you told me that there's people in our lives that were going to come out in it. You had roles for them.
Yeah.
And, like, hearing about your dreams to become a filmmaker and then seeing a plan for it, pretty much. The script was this plan that was, like, you carrying out that dream. I never thought I was going to act in my life. My only acting quote-unquote experience was the YouTube video that my cousin Crystal made that should burn in everybody's hard drive. It shouldn't exist.
I saw that. And like the great director I am, I recognize the potential.
I want him.
It's only him.
Did you see that tear?
It was real.
No. It was real. That wasn't fake. Anyway, so that was my only acting experience, and I chose to never do it again. I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to do it again. I like movies, and I'm going to keep it that way.
Well, you love horror films also.
I love horror movies, especially. I love movies in general.
Yeah.
I feel like with horror movies, you can talk about things that make everyone uncomfortable. And you can talk about them not just to not make people uncomfortable, but to actually talk about them, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was already like, kind of like, you got me at a good spot on horror. It wasn't a comedy. It wasn't a romance or anything. It was a horror, and I was like, it was not indie, but like small scale horror. It wasn't like this large scale apocalyptic world thing. Like, no, it was centered around one character and this believable, but also like really interesting setting wise.
Yeah.
first movie wise also, like, that's the thing, like, I would have expected this if, like, you had showed me a few scripts, like, no, this was your first script that you showed me that was completed and everything, and I was like, yo, this is really good, you know? And so, like, that acting experience that I had with Crystal, quote unquote, I did not ever expect me to act again. But seeing like an actual, like you worked so hard to produce this, and now you're presenting it to me, not just to get my point of view, to get what I think about it, but to sort of like, I don't know if you asked me, it was sort of like I wrote this part, you know, and it's you, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, at the same time, you didn't have to ask me. Like, of course I would do it for you. Like, I never dreamt of acting again, but to see you actually commit something, and it was good. It was not just about me or anything. It was like, it was a horror movie. It was good humor. I loved the dialogue. It was witty. I loved the twists that you had in it. Like, everything about it was just like, this is something that I would watch, that I would support on YouTube or whatever. Yeah. So I'm like, to be a part of that would be an honor. Well,
see, here's the thing, right? See, I'm well. Everything you just said was very nice, and I appreciate it. And it's not the first time I've heard it, so I double appreciate it. You know what I mean? And the thing is, a lot of us hanging out is the source of inspiration for the podcast. You know, like a lot that time we were hanging out a lot. We were doing some podcasting pretty regularly. You know, I was doing a lot more podcasting back then, which was a lot of fun. And you were always nice about listening and telling me and bringing it up and everything. And then there were nights where we would just go hang out and either cruise around LA, or I'd be with you to do your Uber pickups and stuff. Food pickup, not people pickups. You know, there's a little bit of fabrication. If the sequel to the podcast will be you coming back to Los Angeles,
more people,
and
just food,
just, you know, going to the KFC, and you get chased by the Colonel. Brian comes back from the dead dressed as Colonel Sanders with a bucket. But a lot of it is you, you know, the role is you. And I think that's part of why your performance is so strong, especially considering it's your first time really doing something like that. Because what's really, I think, really notable about your performance in the film is that it's a silent performance, pretty much. You know what I mean? Like, there's dialogue. You obviously have, you know, scenes where we're talking and stuff, but primarily we're just focused on what you're emoting through your face. There are big shots where, like, you know, at the very end there's the shot where it comes in and everything, and you're just looking and you're sweating at Brian and everything, and you say, I'm sorry.
It was a cold night.
It was a cold night. But like, we see you're making it happen, you know, with just your body. You know what I mean? And that was the most impressive part, I think.
I noticed you brought up the ending there, and like, I'm gonna bring up 2 points here. One, sure, maybe throw my acting a bone, but also your directing, your ideas for getting these shots and capturing not just me but the actions in a certain way, I feel like they carried a lot to it. They added to my performance, if any way. Like, if someone just set up a camera a certain way and I did my thing, like, I don't think it would have turned out that way. I think you had very much a big help in bringing that out and showing that the right way. Yeah. Showing me the right way, I would say. And 2, it was in the ending where I really, truly, you know, got into it, I would say, because you mentioned earlier, like, the acting journey, what that was like. So I said, like, I didn't plan on acting before, and, like, so my initial feelings to this was like, I was caught off guard, but I really wanted to do this for you. You bought me a book that was what was it, on acting? I think.
I hope that came off as not as an insult, but just like a, hey, maybe this will help.
It showed to me the certain amount of, like, dedication but support that you were offering, and it was like sort of like this. You didn't have to ask me to star in it. Like, I just kind of like, nah, I'm going to do it no matter what, you know? This is your film. Of course I'm going to help you. It was like, you didn't have to tell me what the book was for. Like, it was like, this is new to you. This might help you on that journey.
Right.
And I'm like, I think I made it clear to you that I was like, hey, I'm not just going to be like, all right, like, I'm not just going to help you start the camera. Let's see what we can do. Like, no, I want to learn the craft a little bit. Like, I actually want to help. Like, I'm not just going to, do my best. I'm going to learn about it and do what I can off of that,
Yeah.
And so the book was
absolutely.
very much welcome. And it was like, at first I approached it in like, okay, don't be so hard on yourself. Like, you're not taking this too seriously, but you're taking this seriously enough that you want it to be good. You know?
Yeah.
And I think maybe like halfway through production, we've probably reached this point where like it was a long production, not a lot of movies are in production that long. So at a certain point,
not a lot of short films, especially like we were like, it's like, man, this is
really gotta wrap
the
it
next
up.
coming, man. We got to deal with can't even get to deal with trauma for this fucking short film.
Look, at a certain point, if you're on set and we could all do our taxes together,
I know,
then it's
right?
maybe getting to the point where we're like, all right, maybe we should wrap it up. But, it was, again, maybe if it wasn't my friends, maybe if it was just actors, I would have walked away and be like, I'm not, yeah, no. But because it was not just I was surrounded by friends, but I was surrounded by such a passionate director that I really wanted to see these dreams come true, that I feel like I turned my performance around a bit, like I don't, say like this is the best performance ever or anything, but I will say that at least me, I can see that my performance in the movie changes from halfway in the movie to like towards the ending, where I get this sort of understanding of not just acting, but sort of acting with a director's style. Like, it's not just about what's in the book or what other actors said, because I would watch other actors' interviews and see what they had to say about it, because I'm like, I'm not gonna take it too seriously, but I'm gonna take what they have to say into point,
Yeah.
And at a certain point, I'm like, I think I'm taking that into focal point, I guess. Like, I started hanging out with you again on set. Like, I think at halfway through we had stopped hanging out as much. But then we started hanging out again towards the end, and we started like, wait, no, this was your dream, this was your end point, and it was an interesting point. Like, I thought acting, not just from prior experience, like what little prior experience, but like from prior knowledge and from what I've read, I thought acting was a certain way, but they had always said that like just kind of do your own thing. Don't put too much stress on yourself. It wasn't until like maybe like 75% of the production where I truly reached this like, don't put too much pressure on yourself, but truly live in the moment. Like, it's this crazy understanding acting. Like, I feel like everyone should do it, but it is also like,
It's intimidating for sure.
it's something, because like to get a true performance is something, like.
Yeah.
You get why people, or I guess I hear a lot of people give this criticism of actors, like, oh, they always sound so posh when they talk about acting. And it's like, there's kind of no other way to describe this art form of you inhabiting another person. Like, it's literally you getting into another psyche. So there's no other way than to sound a little elevated, But it's not to say that no one can do it. Anyone can do it, It's just pretending you're someone else. But it's not just pretending. It's like truly getting into, that. And I don't think I learned that till the end, and it was like rewarding to see, especially on camera, especially after seeing what you did in that movie. Like, it was nice to see, like, I'm proud of what we did.
I'm happy to hear that, because near the end of the production period, the production phase, it was getting pretty tough because of, and I'm not going to get into specifics, but you were going through a lot during that time. You're going through a lot of crazy stuff that almost seemed like, man, how the hell did how did that even happen? But and you're good now, obviously, and we're better now. But so don't even worry about it. And those last few production days, like shooting days, especially the very last one, were fucking tough, because of, not just because of how anyone might have been acting, not like performing, but like just how we all might have been in terms of stress, but the weather. The last day was hot as hell, and I felt so guilty about that because, you know, you guys are coming out to, well, we're starting at Cobb Estate.
It was a long day.
Long day. That we got there early in the morning. It was a fucking Sunday, I think. And what happens? Or no, it wasn't even a Sunday. It was we're going up to this hiking trail in the morning, which, you know, you're gonna run into some hikers, but we should be in the clear. But there are these fucking people sitting there with the church pamphlet stands, just sitting right in the spot I needed to shoot.
Yeah.
So
there's never been there out of the years of me going there. There's never been any sort of religious or vendor posted up at the entrance of this hiking trail.
Because why would they be? Like it's
a little awkward. Yeah, people
so
are there
weird.
to hike. People are there to sightsee. They're not there to hear about religion. No offense.
No, but on top of that, the heat.
Oh yeah, it was sweltering.
Unbelievable.
Full suit, full tux, all
my
dressed
God.
to the nines.
Insane. So
let me tell you about Jesus.
that they left because they knew, hey, you know what? We already ruined their production at the very beginning.
Should have just started filming.
Yeah, I know, right? That would have been a funny
just have Brian
Easter egg.
in makeup,
in his skinwalker's gear.
Them. I'll take up 10.
Praise Allah. But so there's the heat. There's like I'm just feeling guilty the whole time, and we're running late. I give Joseph a hot coffee because he asked for a black coffee. You know what I mean? And it was really tough.
Joseph.
Yeah, but we got through it, and the main thing that I remind myself through that process, and also through this current short film we're doing, is the final project, the final product. The film has to be worth the time that was spent working on it. My Modoc was about to fall. It has to be worth it. You know what I mean? And, you know, that's the main worry, I think. You know?
I think, people would be a little worried, but at the end, people stick behind you.
Yeah,
Because at the end of the day, we trust that you're not going to half-ass this movie, you know? Like, we're doing this with no fucking, you know, like, salary, no as Sebastian claims, no trailer, you know? No amenities of any kind. We're doing this just out of, like, not because we want to be on the camera, but because we want to be able to help you, you know, see your films come to life. And if we could help in any way, like, we'll do it, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
And like, I was going through a tough time when we were making the last movie, but at the same time, your movie helped get a lot of like things out of the way, get distracted, and it sort of in this time where I would have self-isolated myself.
Right.
You brought me out. You know, made me socialize. You brought other things. You helped in that tough time. You know.
Well,
and like,
I'm glad to hear that.
In future instances, you know, where you would think this movie a burden or a little hard on some people, you never know when it's actually help, when people needed to get away from something, and this is actually a welcomed experience. You know, people like helping you, Julius. People like seeing your dreams come true.
That's a big relief. and because we got shooting to do tomorrow for this current film, Golden Hour. And so you know, released a little thing today.
Oh yeah,
which was fun.
Saw the what was it, Witch and Bitchin' Hour. Hour. I dropped my like earlier.
Yeah,
listeners,
follow suit. I mentioned to Andrew,
I'm gonna have some of my snacks that
your beloved made.
Amazing beloved dear made. Would you like?
Oh yeah, let me grab one of these. So why don't you explain real quick what these are?
Delicious lemon cakes. She got some delicious lemons from a coworker actually. I think they were like imported. They were very special lemons, and she's like, "Hey, I'll take them." And for Valentine's Day, she decided to cook up these beautiful little lemon cakes.
Oh, and they look like Madeleines, so that's the cool part. Here, let me do it over the mic real quick. Let me.
Oh, Julius. You got half the audience a little half chubbed, and the other half audience, they're turning
hungry. Joyce, you make me horny and hungry.
God. She is a very talented baker.
You better link this episode to it's Ruby. Thank you. No, they're very good. But I referred to Andrew, or to Andrew, when we watched the film with everybody. I referred to Andrew, and this is the highest compliment I can give you. It might sound like backhanded, but it's not. I promise you it's not, because I love this guy. Andrew is very much the Bruce Campbell to my Sam Raimi. If I can compare myself to that, that's
That's a very high compliment.
Yeah, because Evil Dead 2 is one of my favorite horror films of all. It was maybe one of the direct inspirations for the last film.
Same here.
Oh yeah, see, and your performance is very much like, you know, in some ways very much like a Mexican contemporary Ash Williams. And like Ash, you get a pretty cool murder weapon at the end of it. So, you know, you can say, you know what my murder weapon was in my horror movie? A fucking microphone. How many people can say that?
Bash brains into it.
Yeah, and I know you were laughing when when I was spraying that red stuff all over Brian's face.
The waterboarding scene was absolutely amazing. Can't believe we got past studios with that. Mm-hmm. But the last podcast when Brian said that I actually hit him, I was very like, wait, what?
Yeah, that was news to me. I didn't know that either.
He didn't tell me this. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, shit.
Honestly,
I didn't know that. Because
Brian's probably making that up.
Maybe. Nah, I can't say he's a liar. But I was going to say maybe, because I do remember that shoot. That was an amazing shoot. Mm-hmm. That was so much fun. Remember when I fell?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That was embarrassing. I couldn't fucking jump a 2-foot ledge. Ate shit. God damn it. Right before we started shooting too. Like this is why people get stunt doubles.
See, here's the thing. Now I understand why when we watched the film, and it was a really cool turnout for the, you know, obviously it was people who worked on it, but some other people just wanted to come watch it. When we were watching it and it comes to that point where you fucking hit him and you hit him great. Now I understand why my mom was like, man, that was pretty intense. Like, you know, like that was pretty hardcore. It's because you actually smacked the shit out of him.
Maybe.
Y'all went method for that. It's accidental
if
method.
I knew he was going to take a hit, I really would have, you know. No, I'm sorry I hit you, Brian. It was for the good of the film. It looked good. You took it like a champion. Can't wait to do it again if we ever get the chance.
I don't know, man.
But look, this is why people have stunt doubles, Julius.
Well, you know what? That's nice for those people. But we're like Chinese cinema, where we really take the punches.
Good old Jackie Chan, he taught us the right way.
Yeah.
Do your own stunts.
Jackie, Bruce, you know, they were all the real deal, just like us. We're cinema verite, all right? That's as true as it gets, man. You know, and no, it was a great time, and we're gonna have a good time making this new film. You were there for the first night of shooting, where we shot the intro, which was really cool. And I wish I had an idea of something you would be able to do, like hands-on, but the mics I bought weren't up to snuff. So, you know, it worked out anyway. You know, we got the shots in, and
you know, it'd be pretty cool.
What?
Like in a background shot, when you see her like walking by, you just see me in the background like on an Uber. Where is this person?
I'll tell you something. I did have.
That is me just trying to get a paycheck.
No, here's the thing. I did have an idea for something like that with this current one we're doing, because I will say, not that this is, I'm treating it like I'm Kevin Feige. Where's my hat? But like here's
he has a whiteboard, all right, in his room with all the threads connecting.
Phase 1 of the JCU.
Now Brian's character is in the background. If you pause at 20 seconds,
it is. Golden Hour is set in the same world as the podcast.
Yeah, and we joke, but like that's part of what makes it so fun and so cool is that like it's not just to be like, oh, we can make it connect. Like, no, it's like it's deeper. Like it's not just like, oh, this is a random character with no story. It's like, you know what, let me give that character some story. Like there's care into this. Like it's amazing.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I do have something like what you just said, involving your character.
A whiteboard.
In mind. And that's white.
So many threads.
I have something in mind for this film that does connect us to...
You're going to have to talk to my agent.
Well, go get one. I need an agent.
You are my agent.
I talked to him, and he was like, "Yeah, do whatever you want with it."
He can do his own stunts. You don't have to pay.
You have to pay. Throw him off a building. A little tease, but it's gonna be cool, and we're gonna get that little Easter egg thing, whatever it is, shot tomorrow. Tomorrow, when we're shooting, it's gonna be there. So I'll send you an image privately, and then we'll see in the actual film whatever comes up. But it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be really fun.
Well, hey, your sets are always fun. So
yeah, as long as they're pastries.
I know it is. As long as Justin's are.
Oh, and by the way, I want to say on the record, the reason, just last thing before we move on, you brought in Leslie to the podcast, which was a very valuable piece of the puzzle because her makeup is pretty fucking incredible.
Yes, our makeup artist.
Yeah, and we got some pretty crazy stuff in mind for this film.
Really?
Yeah. I'll tell you about it later because Joseph was messaging me about things we could do. Yeah.
Well, he did help last time.
He was a big help last time, but this time he was like messaging me. Now that you dropped the class, now that I dropped the class, it's like, hey.
Wait, are you not going to class this
semester?
Well,
I am. It's just I have one less to pull my hair out over, so
very nice.
That's always good. I'm excited to talk about this film with you. The film we're going to be talking about. Goldeneye. We're going to break down the script. I'm very excited about this because hopefully if this podcast has been recording properly, we obviously love film, and I think we have a very specific type of friendship. A lot of our friendship is kind of documented, funny enough, due to previous works together, films, podcasts, and everything. And I appreciate you having been here to help me out with all these sorts of projects and everything. And the film that we're talking about tonight is oddly enough about friendship, ultimately, about
stuntmen.
And stuntmen. I like
Brian.
I like the way in the first act of this podcast you were like doing a little teasing. Yo, we need some stuntmen. Julius. We need Cliff Booth. The film we're talking about is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Absolutely amazing. Film, oh my God.
By Quentin Tarantino, the craziest filmmaker.
The foot lover himself.
The foot man.
So, Rick, explain to the audience exactly what it is a stunt double does.
Actors are required to do a lot of dangerous stuff. Cliff here is meant to help carry the load.
If Edward James Olmos was the finger man, Tarantino is the foot man.
It's on your contract if you're signing up for a Tarantino film. No shoes on set. Not just the no phones. No shoes.
Men or women, but more so the women.
More so the women.
Yeah. For sure. And this movie had a lot of foot action in it, weirdly enough.
And Margaret Qualley. Like, I get it.
Oh, yeah.
Up and rising star. She's in a couple films coming out this year, actually. Drive Away Dolls. I want to see that one.
Oh, yeah? Was she in that?
She's her and that one actress from Cock Blockers.
You're talking about the actress who played Pussycat in the film, right?
Yes,
yeah.
So she's seeming to come out in like these raunchy comedies, which is cool. Like it's her forte, I would say. But a lot of foot action in that movie. Where I'm just like, girl, tone it down a little. I mean, I guess it was Tarantino, but like,
Tarantino's holding the tripod all centrally and shit.
Keep them off.
Take off your socks. All right. So here we are. We're talking about a film that was actually kind of brought up in the last discussion I did with Brian. We were talking about a little bit about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and that kind of inspired me to watch it again.
He saw himself
recently.
As Leo DiCaprio, didn't he?
Oh my, who? Brian?
Yeah.
No, what's funny about that is that I completely see myself as Leo in that film, and I completely see you in many ways as Cliff in that film, in terms of
I wish I had that many Hawaiian shirts.
Oh my God, dude. See, that's what I'm saying right there. There's a really great not just loyalty, but understanding between both characters, a friendship.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
it's heartwarming to see.
It is.
It really is.
Because when I'm seeing like every other scene with Leo's character, Rick Dalton, freaking out about how his life is over, and then Cliff has to come in and be like, don't cry in front of the Mexicans. I was like, wow, that is so Andrew and me. It's not even funny, dude. Like, wow. I think Andrew wears like glasses like that.
Aviators, one of my favorites. Yeah. Classic.
I have a jean jacket if you want to wear it.
His wardrobe was very on point.
It really was. It was like the whole Redford style and everything.
Yeah.
He was the epitome of cool in that film. But did you see this movie in theaters?
Yeah. I saw it, I think, either 3 or 4 times, because this is when I was working at the movie theater. Yeah. So I saw it I think I saw it like at a premiere with my sister and my brother probably, because they were my big movie buddies back in the day. And then I saw it once on my own, and then I saw it once with my cousin. I didn't see it with you, right?
No, I don't think so.
I don't get it. But I remember once it was on, when was it? YouTube? Mm-hmm. Like just available on YouTube. I bought it there. Just like I always have YouTube, so it'll always be there. Mm-hmm. And I just big fan. As soon as the trailer came out, I was like, this is gonna be a really good movie. You know, like I love Tarantino. What was the one he did prior to that one?
It was the Hateful Eight.
Yeah. So I liked that one, and I thought it was really good. Mm-hmm. Compared to like Kill Bill and the other ones, it was like. Yeah, this is what I would expect. But once the trailer came out for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it was what I expected, but also like because it was based on a true story,
based around a true story. Yeah.
But his own was it not interpretation, but like
kind of like a what if.
Yeah,
his own scenario
spin on it, and it was really interesting. And I was like, okay, let's see where this goes, and. It was such a treat watching the whole movie. I think I was smiling the whole time. Yeah. Like it was funny. The narration from what's his name?
Oh my gosh,
Star-Lord's dad.
It's Snake Plissken. Kurt Russell.
Yeah,
Kurt Russell. Yeah.
When I first heard his narration, I was like, "Is that Kurt Russell?" And then when he came out as a stunt coordinator, I was like, "Yo, it's fucking cool." And then whole Bruce, the whole movie, the whole movie, I loved it.
My god,
it was amazing. Bought it everywhere. Need to have it. If you guys haven't watched it, please watch it. It's amazing. A lot of feet.
It's not enough feet.
And you know what? Underrated performance from Austin Butler, if I'll say so myself.
Oh yeah, as Tex.
As
Tex. I was a little. Well, I'll be honest with you. I was very apprehensive about the film when I first heard about it because of
the incident.
Yeah, because of what it was revolving around, and having knowing Tarantino as a figure, and just how
he just like, oh, what's he gonna do?
Yeah, and especially watching something like Inglourious Bastards, I'm like, oh my god, what is he gonna do here with the whole Sharon Tate
in the ending?
No, see, that's a whole segment of the podcast. All right, that ending. Okay, here's the thing.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
I'm when the trailers come out, I'm incredibly excited. I'm incredibly nervous at the same time.
I was so hooked.
When I see in that point in the trailer where you see the actor playing Bruce Lee, and it tripped me out because from the side, at least his profile, he looked and sounded just like.
Even in the movie, it was just like, damn, that's a really good job,
Yeah, he got the vocal inflection and everything.
It's crazy to know the facts after the thing, which is like. To hear that he didn't have the best experience filming that, I'm like, you did such a good job casting him though. Like you did as much of a job as someone who would love the guy did a good job filming it.
Here's the thing, all right? Anyone who has a problem with how I portrayed Bruce Lee, I understand if it's his daughter. Anyone else go suck a dick.
I can understand his daughter having a problem with it. It's her fucking father, all right? I get that. But anybody else, go suck a dick.
No, but like he actually did a good job filming him. Like, I was like, damn, that's really good,
Yeah, I mean, if this movie, I consider it very much because Tarantino's ending his filmography, at least after this next film he's doing, The Movie Critic, and this movie felt very much like a celebration of his whole career and his movies before Once Upon a Time.
A lot of odes to Pulp.
Pulp Fiction, Django, his Western work, his love for Western.
Actually,
the martial arts in there was Bruce Lee himself shows up. In Kill Bill, the bride is obviously dressed up like Lee and everything. There's that moment that kind of homages Inglourious Bastards, with the Nazi movie he did where he roasts Nazis and everything.
That's right.
Like this movie, and it had kind of the grounded element of something like Jackie Brown or Reservoir Dogs, or you know what I mean? Like, it felt very much like Tarantino was saying goodbye, in his movie.
Like, it wasn't as out of the box crazy as his past films. It was a little bit more centered in reality, but still his own chaos, just in a realistic world.
A realistic world depicted by a very impossible person. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And I think that's why it's one of my favorite films of his, because it is kind of going back to my favorite Tarantino movies like Pulp Fiction and Jackie Brown and Reservoir Dogs and everything. I don't need everything to be super comic booky to enjoy, even though I love something like Django, which I think is the only Tarantino movie we've watched together when we went up to Big Bear.
That was nice. Yeah, it's free on YouTube, I'm telling you.
Free on YouTube, the whole thing.
Who needs all these streaming services? YouTube. It's gotcha.
Yes, movies. But how do you feel about this kind of being that, like his beginning of the end, as it were?
Honestly, I thought it was his end. When you mentioned it, his next film being his last film, I thought people were saying that about this film. Am I wrong?
He said for like 10 years at this point that his 10th movie would be it. And there was a little bit of a weird thing going on with the whole numbering thing, because you know how he did Grindhouse with Death Proof? Like, he wasn't counting that as a numbered film.
God, I love Death Proof.
The car is the weapon.
That's how this movie came out to be on Death Proof. Kurt Russell and his stuntman.
Yeah. See, there you go. Like, it
comes back around.
It's the Tarantino universe.
Just like you, it's all connected.
It's all have you heard him actually talk about that?
No.
About how his movies are connected? Here's the fucking thing, right? Some movies. What are those called? Red Apple?
Yeah.
Big Apple cigarettes? It's like, some movies are movies within other movies. Some shows are shows in another movie. You can look that up. But there's this great joke by Red Letter Media when they did a review of this film. They were like, man, if Tarantino doesn't stop making movies, he's going to end up on that stage like Kevin Feige with a big fucking roster and timeline.
You know what? I wouldn't be opposed to it, honestly. Like, Jacob and our other close friends, they're like, Marvel's all confusing nowadays. And I'm like, I've always kind of kept up with the comics, so I can kind of keep up with this stuff. Like, I get if you were just a moviegoer who was keeping up with the 2010 trend, then like, yeah, maybe you fell off interest-wise. But, like, for example, you know what? I don't know if I should say this. All right, audiences,
it's the N-word,
please.
isn't
it? It's as bad as that. I want to go watch Madam Web. I know.
You said
I know.
Wow.
I know. But
Andrew, I take
hear me
offense
out.
to that. No,
hear me out.
wait, hold on. Before
hear
you say that,
out.
I just want to
No.
say, before we finish the podcast, he wouldn't say the word cinema, and you dare say Madam Web before
Look,
the word cinema.
I'm not saying Madam Web is gonna be the best fucking movie. It's probably gonna be dog shit. But I tell you what, before it was a trend, before he got his fucking games, because I fell in love with him in 2002 when I was a wee lad. And when I played his fucking game on the Nintendo 64, I'm the hugest fucking fan of Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah,
so,
right.
Because of actually seeing these Spider-Man characters on screen, that's the only reason why I want to watch this movie. It's because I'm a huge fucking Spider-Man
Madam
fan.
Web.
Yes, that's why I want to watch this movie. But
look, you can want to watch it, but you don't have to pay for it.
Guess what movie I paid for, and guess what movie I saw?
It
starts with an M.
Madam Web.
That's the future, buddy. No, Morbius.
Come on.
Guess
man.
what? Because he's a Spider-Man villain, buddy.
Andrew,
Any movie that they cranking out, I'm a sucker for. Sony's teat, I'm there.
God damn it,
Suckling away, all
I was
right?
about to call you Andrew Garfield.
I might as well be.
You gotta stop.
He was Sony's poster boy. I'm the fanboy.
Craven the Hunter.
I'm watching Craven.
God
I'm
damn it,
watching it
Andrew.
all. Hey, you're lucky I didn't see Aquaman. I ran out of time.
Oh, that's where you're not gonna watch Aquaman, but
I didn't have time. It's
But
out
you
of
can see
theaters.
Madam Web?
It's out of theaters.
Well, I hope it's out of theaters. Jesus,
You yourself are gonna pull it from theaters.
I'm gonna clip this little moment. Andrew,
No, don't put
promotes
this on your
Madam
story.
Web.
No, all right. This one stays hidden. All right. People have to come watch and tune in this episode to hear this.
I'll
all
delete
right?
this part, Andrew. Don't worry.
You do what you want with this. I've already said this controversy. The only person I've told is Kelly. I haven't even told my girlfriend. And you know what? My girlfriend's a huge fan. Actually, I don't know if she's the biggest fan of Spider-Man, but she's a huge fan of Venom. So I would imagine she's a fan of Spider-Man.
Yeah,
But
sure,
she immediately, when we saw that trailer in theater, she was like, "That looks like absolutely. I am not watching that." So in my head, I'm like, "Fuck, I'm gonna have to watch that on my own."
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
No, but
because
then I started seeing all the trends on the internet, and I'm like, oh, okay. Not only am I gonna have to watch this alone, I'm gonna have to hoodie up and like wear a mask and just not talk about this character in my grave. But you know what? I don't get much like Cliff Booth. Who cares? So
Andrew, you're gonna be like Sharon Tate in this movie, going to see her own film.
Hey,
and
I'm in there. You know the guy in the mask that doesn't show his face. That's me.
Exactly. Yeah, you're gonna put your feet up, take your
God. I'm gonna
socks
take
and
my
shoes
socks
off.
fresh off a shift of work.
Exactly. Stink it up because no one's in there. Go for it.
I mean, might as well. Yeah, I'm gonna be the only one in there yelling up a storm.
Sydney Sweeney.
Dakota Johnson. Jeez, who's?
All right, let's come back to. Let's come back
Okay. Madam Web off of this. What were we talking about? An actually good film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. All right.
So this is obviously a love letter Tarantino has to
Brad Pitt and
to Brad
Leo.
Pitt, Leo himself. Also,
yeah, I'm like Leo DiCaprio.
I'm up there. But also the 60s period of film of Los Angeles. They do some incredible set dressing on the streets of
seeing the
Hollywood.
boulevard and the old signs.
Yeah, and it's real. Like it's real stuff that they remodeled, like street lamps, cars
And
everywhere.
only Tarantino could, you know.
Yeah.
It's like we'd love to see that in all these other films, but only that man could actually make that happen, you know?
It's insane. Dude, have you seen the behind the scenes like shots and videos of like they closed off whole freeways.
Yeah.
Put giant street lamp, like not even street lamps, giant like I don't know, like lights on cranes. Flooding it all over the freeway and everything.
See, we didn't have that on the podcast, but here on the Golden Hour, they're having that. So can you believe that? Ridiculous.
We're gonna definitely use street lamps.
You get one successful film, and this guy's got all the money in production.
I got a 3-picture deal. I got that Tarantino deal for this movie.
And I got the fucking Cuba Gooding Jr. deal.
Oh no!
I got cut after the first one. You're being replaced.
Thanks again for your service.
You know what? If we do a multiverse, maybe you'll come out. But
I know. Oh my God! Could you imagine? Yeah, and then multiverse.
If they're gonna give him the John Krasinski treatment, if he comes back, they're gonna bring him back to kill him for 10 seconds.
Who, you?
Me? Yeah. Sure.
The John Krasinski will play Andrew from Earth 48.
Brian, no.
No, but it's going to be really, really cool. A lot of actually the speaking of the podcast, a lot of the driving sequences, a lot of what was going on in this movie, because driving is such a big part of it, were served as inspiration. You know what I mean? Because it's just done so well. They have like rigs set up on the cars. They have these beautiful like I don't know what kind of car that Pitt drives in it, but he has got like a nice muscle.
It's a really nice car. I think it's Tarantino's friends actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's like actually usable. Like it's not just rented.
It's so
somebody's
he can
car.
use it as much as he wants.
I mean, as long as he's that guy's friend, I guess. That guy doesn't fuck him up at a beer game or something.
This is the new pussy wagon.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Brad Pitt's pussy. No, but actually,
Yeah.
I didn't notice. I saw the film. What was it, like 3 days ago? I
Yeah.
think. My cousin. I love him. He's amazing. Lets me borrow his streaming services.
Oh, cool.
But sometimes when he thinks I am like logging into them too much, he logs me out on purpose.
What?
And I had bought Once Upon a Time in Hollywood on Vudu because I remember for the longest he was like, "What is that?" Like he wasn't interested in it, and I'm like, "Watch this fucking movie." Like me and him actually, like you, have very similar movie tastes.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm like, "How have you not seen this movie?" And I remember when he first watched it, he was like, "It's good," but it's like I don't see all the hubbub. And like now, a year or two later, he's like quoting that movie. He's like, those guys, this is a fucking good movie. And I'm like, I fucking knew you'd love that movie.
He's doing that whistling shit.
Yeah, no, you know what? Every time we're playing games, he's always singing that, like, "Knocking on the green door." He loves it. He loves singing that. Or you know what? He loves like when we get our asses handed to us, like don't get on like video games and shit, and Call of Duty and all that stuff. He just goes, he's like, "It's official, buddy. I'm a hack." Like, yeah, honestly.
Incredibly quotable film.
It is, absolutely.
Sharp dialogue and everything. It's Tarantino writing. And
Honestly, wait,
yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
there was this scene that I'm like, yeah.
You were kind of mad.
Nah, I would say I disliked, but I saw it's that's a Tarantino thing, you know? So I'm like, that's why you put it in
What
there.
was it?
Dakota Johnson's scene in when Brad Pitt was sort of
Oh, when he went to Spawn Ranch.
strong-arming
Yeah.
his way into there.
Yeah.
She kind of went on this monologue thing.
Uh-huh.
And it was like, it's very Tarantino.
Yeah, it is.
But it was also kind of like out of left field for me. Because I was like, it was a very suspenseful scene. It was shot really well.
Yeah.
And it was like, you really didn't know what was about to happen.
Yeah.
And
Really
if they
tense.
were telling the truth or what.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. It took me out, I guess.
You know, there are moments like that where the movie, especially near the end, near the climax, where the movie is it's not treating the audience like they're idiots, you know, explaining everything that's going to happen. They are like, since they're revolved around such a real and tragic event, they assume the audience knows about this, right? Even though at the very end it's kind of like not a documentary, but like those crime shows where they're talking about the time, right? Like what's his name? Kurt Russell. He has his narration and he's talking about
This
at
guy
6:07.
went out to smoke his acid.
it's at 11:58 p.m. he was doing this and this, but it's like it knows that the audience knows. You know what I mean? So it is working on this whole thing of like, if you know about Spawn Ranch and the Manson family living there, the movie is treating you like you know that. You know, if you don't, you might be a little confused.
Now, I would imagine that's a big help in filmmaking, right?
What?
Just having the audience already know this event, so like you don't have to fill in all this context. You can sort of just film what you want them to see happen in this event.
Yeah.
Would you imagine it would have to be such a big event? You know, like say you were filming these films, for example,
Right.
and do you think it would be a good thing or a bad thing for you to film in that similar light? Like, oh, if these people watch the podcast, they would understand this part of the film.
I mean,
Do you think it'd have to be such a big event that like the general audience would have to know?
probably. I mean, like if I were to making like Golden Hour, perfect example, right? I said earlier it's in the same reality as the podcast and everything, but we're not making this film with that expectation of
Right. That's just
you
a
need to
bonus
watch.
thing.
Yeah. It's just like, hey, that's, you know, if you saw that, then there's another layer of enjoyment. You know what I mean? Because there are direct connections.
See, because I always found myself enjoying those things, even in small things. Like
Yeah.
if it's like a small nod to, like in video games, they did that a lot actually. Easter eggs, that's where it came from, you know?
Yeah,
Like just
yeah.
a little small nod to what they used to do. I've always enjoyed that, you know? But I don't know if maybe the directors are keeping that to big scale movies or something.
Well, it is an interesting approach because
It is.
I
You
mean,
can't use that a lot.
yeah,
I think.
especially with real life things that happen that you're changing the events of. Like Tarantino is the only director that I can think of that does this type of material this type of way. Like I can't imagine Nolan making Oppenheimer and saying like, okay, and then at the very end
they killed everybody.
the atmosphere did yeah, you know what I mean, like, because there are some subject matters that it would be inappropriate to do that with, but with Tarantino, I feel because of his personality and how much personality he puts in his films, and especially with how it's treated here, right? And the whole reason behind these changes, he does get away with it, you know? Like, when I saw this movie in the theaters multiple times like you, I think almost every time the ending happens, which we're not going to exactly talk about, but I think every time there were cheers because of what happens and because of what it means. But we'll talk about that in a second. I do want to talk about specifically Sharon Tate, played by Margot Robbie in this film, which I think is it's kind of like, you know, I'm bringing up, you know, the podcast a lot, but it reminded me a little bit of what you were doing with our little short film, where a lot of her performance is very silent, and she just kind of embodies Sharon Tate, you know, her personality. It really is like we're watching just a day in her life in the movie, you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like a performance, you know what I mean? What did you think about her in the film?
In the movie, I really liked it. Like, I've always liked Sharon Tate. Like, I haven't seen too many of her movies, but I've always liked her aesthetic, and I always liked the way she carried herself.
Yeah.
And to hear about her tragedy was like, well, that's very heartbreaking, you know, especially because this was like a rising time, not just for her, but for Hollywood. Like, a lot of movies are coming out. She could have been in a lot of good stuff. Yeah, that especially.
Yeah.
Point is, it was a very happy time for her, and to hear that was just, you know, pretty sad. And to like not only have a portrayal that's complimenting but endearing, it was really nice, you know. And having that twist ending was only just the icing on the cake, I think, because Margot Robbie did a phenomenal job. I think.
She was really good, and one of my favorite scenes in the film is where she goes to see the Wrecking Crew that starred Dean Martin and Sharon Tate, and she's seeing the real movie. You know, she's seeing Sharon Tate up there and everything, and there's that part where there's the fight scene with Tate and the Asian chick and everything, and she's like she's doing the moves in the seat because she's just like so excited. And,
you know, I'm not gonna lie, there was a point when we were at the premiere watching our film.
Oh, yeah.
And there were certain scenes where I was just taken back to set, and I was remembering rehearsals and then just going over these lines or going over these swings and then just seeing it on screen. I felt like when she watches her movie, I was like, yeah, I remember that.
Oh, man. That really, I love hearing that, dude. Oh, my God. That really makes me feel good hearing you say that, man. That's especially when they like applaud at the end of her fight scene when she wins, you know, and she's just like in the middle of the audience and like no one knows it's her and everything. It's just such a nice little
moment for her.
Yeah, it's really like, I think that's why I got really nervous the first time I saw this in theaters, when it gets to that point where they're explaining, okay, she went to the Mexican restaurant. She went home. She got in her nightgown and everything. And that moment is building up of reality. It's because of those scenes where we're just with her that made me really nervous about what was going to happen at the very end, you know, because I didn't know what the fuck is Tarantino going to do here.
I mean, I never put the expectation that he would, you know, massacre a beloved star like that, or especially because the film was kind of like not just a nod to old movies, the Once Upon a Time, but also like because he said it's based on something and like it's sort of his own telling of it. I kind of felt like they were gonna go another route, you know? So it's sort of like I obviously had no idea what was gonna happen because that ending was so fucking good and so surprising, but I sort of knew that they were gonna be okay. I was just wondering where it was gonna go, you know. And once they start narrating Cliff's life, then I'm like, okay, I like where this is going. I forgot what I was gonna say. I was gonna say something. Damn.
Well, until you remember it, I want to ask you: do you think Cliff intentionally killed his wife? because that shot where she's yelling at him, her ass is in the foreground, and he's sitting there. No, I didn't read the book, but that shot is so when he's on the boat and he's just sitting there with the harpoon gun.
I like
is so brilliant, and the way it just washes away.
You know, I guess in initial viewing,
yeah,
it was sort of this, because I don't know, watching the character, watching his support to this friend, and sort of this humble nature that he sort of like doesn't really speak, but just sort of like lives his life through.
Yeah,
it's very telling. And so to have, like, I don't know, just the way that it's shot, a man out in the boat. I love the sea, so out here trying to get nice, beautiful waves, pops open a beer and just has someone nagging the entire time.
Oh, yeah.
I can imagine it's not just one day. I imagine the way that she said, "What, you don't want to fight?" Like it's a constant thing.
Fight.
Yeah, like the way that it's shot, it's so well done, and like, you know,
there's enough ambiguity there at the
yeah, that I'm like, I feel like he didn't do it on purpose, but he also was like not being safe about it. And he was being dangerous on, like, you know what, I don't care.
Yeah.
He was being careless, I'll say. In the book, though, because I read a little bit of the book.
Oh, okay.
It was he did shoot her. He did want her dead, but he immediately regretted it, and he tried to save her. But
but she just bled out or something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say she, like, you know, got shot, fell overboard. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. He tries reaching, and then a fucking shark comes.
I wish. Very Tarantino-esque. They should have shot that.
That would have been awesome.
But after reading that, I'm like, yeah, I can see that, especially in the movie. I think the book came after the movie, so
it did,
maybe
yeah.
Tarantino's like, yeah, let me fix this.
Let me answer
let me make
that
him a little bit
question.
more redeemable. Even though I heard he's like, no, he's way worse in the fucking books.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
wow.
Like, he fucking killed a lot of men in the World War.
It's in was it that or Vietnam?
World War, Vietnam War. Yeah,
I don't know.
He's not that old.
I just remember a clip of Tarantino saying, you know, when that whole Bruce Lee controversy came out, it's like he's like, listen, Cliff Booth fought with the Filipino resistance, all right? He would fucking kill Bruce Lee.
I did like the fighting scenes in that. I was like,
oh
shit. Once Bruce
so
Lee and him started throwing down, it was nice. It was seeing, you know, people that puff their chests. It was seeing an American hero versus a cultural icon. Like, let's see them clash, you know? And it was, you know, the first few bouts, he hits him, he throws him, and then once they actually get into that few seconds of just sparring, it was like, damn, that's so good. You know?
Yeah.
It was so beautiful.
It took me back to Kill Bill when that's his
so good.
The choreography was
and
incredible.
I'm just like, no, why did they stop it? Why did they break it up? And it was just like,
oh, it might.
Should have been more. It should have been more.
What the fuck are you doing to Bruce? Bruce. No, that I really enjoy that scene despite the whole controversy of it. I get the whole, because it's set in his mind and everything.
Yeah, it's sort of like, you know what, it's a director's freedom. Like, if they have a certain, I wouldn't say prejudice, but like a certain, like, I didn't like the guy. Like, it was straight up like, I didn't like him. I thought he was an asshole. It wasn't like I hate him, I want him to die. It was like, I thought he was an asshole, so I'm gonna portray him as I thought him as him. It wasn't like, it wasn't personal. I think
it became
a director
personal.
should have that freedom. I think it would have been personal if he was really groveling about it. There was a certain line where I'm like, that's a little much.
Yeah.
I think it was where like, oh, I don't know.
We get into a fight, I accidentally kill you, I go to jail.
Anybody accidentally kills anybody in a fight, they go to jail. It's called manslaughter.
Or something like that.
Yeah, well, he was very
like,
braggadocious in that scene.
That,
you know?
I don't mind, because I feel like with that strength, there comes a certain confidence that you need to have. I've seen people that commit their lives to this, and it's like, it's not what perceives as arrogance. It's like this confidence that sort of needs to be achieved to sort of get this discipline.
Yeah.
So that's believable in my head. I'm
but
with
you.
It was when like, I think he just didn't accept the defeat when it's at a certain point.
Nobody beat the shit out of Bruce.
Exactly, because like, he's confident, but he's also, I think he has some amount of humility, you know, based off of what I've seen and what I've read.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I think he would have been a little confident, yes, but I think he would have accepted the defeat. I don't think he would have been a little that. I think that's the only amount of prejudice Tarantino put in there. Other than that, I think for someone who didn't like the guy, he did a pretty good job portraying him.
I think so. Well, the thing is, first of all, Bruce Lee fans are very
I am a Bruce
passionate.
Lee fan.
No, I know. But Bruce, when they like, I'm talking about the type of fan that says he would beat Cassius Clay, in a fight. Though that type of fan of Bruce Lee gets very passionate around the myth of Bruce Lee, the legend. Yeah, legend is a better word. The legend of Bruce Lee, where he could fucking fight he could fight Batman. And Tarantino obviously loves his original creations more than he cares about Bruce Lee's legacy or who the guy really was. Mm-hmm. And also in that scene we're looking at the way Cliff remembers it. One thing I noticed in this screening recently that I watched is right as the fight begins, everyone in the area disappears from frame. Like no one is there anymore. And then it becomes, it's very subtle. It's just those two. And then the Australian actress who comes in. And that, at least to me, illustrates that this is pure fantasy. And this probably didn't go down the way, like he throws him into a car, you know what I mean? And then Bruce Lee,
that's sort of like implied, I would imagine. Like, I don't know.
It's just the way Cliff...
Did people actually think that happened? Like,
well, it's just like...
Or sort of just seeing that
they don't like,
movie. They just don't like seeing it. Like,
they don't want to see Bruce betrayed, because Bruce was very humble and very, he's an inspiration, to many people, especially in the fighting world. Mm-hmm. So to see Bruce act kind of arrogant in that way and have a chip off his shoulder, especially when Cliff Booth is talking to him like that, they don't like to see that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it wasn't the most complimentary, flattering portrayal, right. But I think, I don't know, maybe this is just opinion, but I think as a movie enjoyer, especially one of Tarantino, you should have a little nuance to understand that he's not being straight up dick. Like, this is film. It's a movie.
And I think Bruce would have loved that scene, to be honest.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, it was a good scene. The way it was shot, the action scene, the dialogue.
It was funny.
It was a good scene. Maybe they're mad because they don't want to admit that it was a good scene because of what happened. Mm-hmm. But
the daughter, I get. The daughter being upset by that.
Right. That makes sense.
That's fair.
That's personal. Right?
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. I'm just like, it's the guy's movie. What are you guys upset about? He can make anybody the way he wants. Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah,
it's strange.
It's a fantasy, and the way I look at that scene is Bruce Lee gets thrown into a car, right, and he gets right back up, and he like cracks his back, and he's like ready to go.
It wasn't like it wasn't bad or anything. That's another thing. I'm like, it could be way worse. What are y'all upset about? That was the thing.
You get thrown into a car like that, like those are heavy ass cars, dented. Mm-hmm. You're not getting up. Mm-hmm. Bruce Lee got up.
It wasn't like oh no, I want to turn away. We wanted to see more. We wanted to keep it going,
That's literally what I was thinking when they get interrupted at that point where it's perfect. The choreography, the way it's shot, everything about it. It's that shot from the trailer that got me freaking hyped, where they're like locking and everything. I wanted more of it. You know what I mean? Perfect.
We needed more fight scenes in the podcast, if you ask me.
Well, there's always the possibility of a sequel.
Budget couldn't afford it.
I wanted a sword fight with my microphone.
Brian did 4 months of intensive sword training for nothing. Classes came out of his pocket. We told him there's no reason to take it. I'll take him. I'll be a sword master.
I remember when I gave Brian the microphone the first time. I showed it to him, and he
want me to do it?
He's like, no, he was like literally like, what the fuck is this, Charles? And then he like, I took it from him. And then I said, hey, could I see your hand real quick? And he's like, yeah, sure. And then I give him a slight tap on his wrist. And he's like, ow, Jules.
Now I can't work for 3 weeks.
And then I was like, see? He's like, oh, I guess I do see. You can kill someone with this. No, but the next film will have katanas for sure.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Microphones in the first film, boomsticks in the second.
Oh, dude, that's a cool idea. I like that. We should do that for this film.
Write that down. Where's the whiteboard?
Oh shit, Joseph, Joseph.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What have we missed anything big regarding this?
The ending, I guess, or do you want to get?
If there's anything before we it has a really good soundtrack to it.
Pussycat's foot.
Pussycats feet. When they come together, they're dirty.
So like, I think people love talking about the portrayal of Sharon Tate, the ending that was amazing, the beautiful director, the man that is Tarantino.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt's mysterious role. But I don't know if a lot of talk goes to Dalton. Like Leo's Rick Dalton is like, maybe because people like the emotional support that Brad Pitt's Cliff offers him, but like I feel like there's some kind of growth that he goes through as an actor in Hollywood, 1960s Hollywood especially.
Yeah.
Like, you're very privileged, you know? And like he has this meltdown, this crisis of identity, of self-worth that like gets him to like
I've been there.
I wouldn't say he becomes the best person in the end. Like, fucking torches somebody. But like it was nice to see. Like, I thought his like it felt like a real actor. It didn't feel like a character that Leo was playing. And maybe, it's Leo DiCaprio. He's gonna be a good fucking character.
Yeah.
But like it felt like somebody in Leo's circle. Leo himself is an actor, so I'm pretty sure there's very much some influence that he draws from it.
It must have, yeah.
It didn't feel like, Leo DiCaprio if he went down this route. No, it felt like a whole nother actor from the 60s who was just best friends with his fucking stunt double. And it was like, I love Dalton in it. And it's like, I love Cliff in it. He's my favorite character of the duo, but Dalton, he's got to get some credit. Like, really good. Really
I think what really... This might be my favorite performance by Leo.
I think he made me crack up the most.
Oh my god! Because you never see him. You never see him like play the comedic kind of relief in a way.
Yeah, and he's not going comedic. He's just like an actor who is at his fucking wit's end. He's just like, what the fuck? Am I good enough? Am I not good enough? What is the answer? And then like,
he plays pathetic perfectly.
And you know
in
what?
This film.
You know what? After actually acting and like being in something, it's interesting to see that, because like obviously it's not the same thing, but like the stress, the specific things that he stresses about is like, that makes sense. Like, what was it? It was the scene where he's like, he's fucking stuttering his lines. Like, you fucking practice all night. Now it doesn't look like you don't do shit.
It doesn't look like you practice.
You drink all night. And he fucking tries to open the fucking bottle.
Drunk.
I fucking love it. It's amazing.
Oh my god, he's
not to say that I
amazing.
haven't had a night of one of those, but it's amazing. It's amazing. He's a good actor.
I think we've all been there, And his whole like. Yeah, he's having kind of a midlife crisis going on.
I just love his Francesca.
Oh my, Francesca! I love the scene with him and Al Pacino at the beginning, where Pacino is like, that scene is so real. Like the way they're interacting with each other is so authentic. This producer who's trying to get him in the Italian films, telling him how it is, laughing at him.
Man.
Yeah, and
I've been to too many job interviews where it's like, I'm gonna slap you on the face and you're gonna thank me for it.
Yeah,
I'm like,
he has to play it off like Dalton has to play it off like he knows this stuff when he clearly doesn't.
That's why it's my favorite scene. He's just crying. He's like, all right, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here.
I have to go to make a fucking Italian pictures.
Hey, what's the problem? You have to make fucking Italian.
No, but like Al Pacino is a really great cameo in this, where he's like, "There goes your career. There goes you as a leading man."
That's because that's you as a future film buff financier.
That's how I talk to Miles.
Everybody in your future films, that's how you talk to them. You want to work on my films,
or do you go to Italy and start winning fucking fights? Oh my god, that stuff is really good. That stuff is really good.
Who else? Who else has a notable role in that movie? I talked about Kurt Russell.
Oh, I had a theory regarding Kurt Russell, actually. that I wanted to tell you because I think it's interesting at least.
Tell me.
Kurt Russell plays a character in the film. He plays like a stunt coordinator, who's like in charge of the stuntmen for. He may be the director because they're on the Green Hornet set.
Yeah, he's a stunt coordinator.
He's a stunt coordinator. Okay, so Rick is trying to tell or trying to get Cliff a job, pretty much, because Rick is working on the Green Hornet as a character, and what happens is we realize that Russell has a problem with Cliff Booth because he believes that Cliff killed his wife and everything, and it's just awkward to have him on set, especially since Kurt Russell works with his wife, right? So the movie opens up with narration from Kurt Russell, and it ends with narration from Kurt Russell as well. And initially, when I first saw the film, I just assumed, oh, this is a thing where it's like, Kurt Russell's playing a character and he's also playing the narrator, separate things. But on this last viewing, I kind of figured, no, the narrator is that same character as what Kurt Russell was playing in the movie, because the movie's called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's all about stories in Hollywood getting around. His character believes something about Cliff because of a story he heard. So here's Kurt Russell telling the story of Cliff Booth and Rick Dalton saving Sharon Tate. And it's kind of like a mini, this is very much my interpretation, but it's kind of like an arc of how he changes his viewpoint on Cliff. He at first was like, I don't dig him. He killed his wife. And at the end, Cliff is the one pretty much who saved Sharon Tate's life, especially considering what real life, what happened in real life. So when watching, I was like, oh shit, that would be kind of cool if that was the goal, like the goal of Tarantino in this, That's kind of what I just thought. What do you think?
I completely agree. Like, it might sound a little confusing to people, which is why I was gonna ask, like, have you seen anyone talk about this? But to bring it up is kind of you got to keep up with me, stay with me, kind of thing. All right,
yeah.
No, I don't mean.
Oh, no, I thought.
No,
sorry.
The topic is like this is a lot of information.
Yeah.
This is a lot to kind of hold on to at the same time. So I ask of you.
Yeah.
But so I get it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure no one's mentioned that.
I've never heard
talked about that because it is kind of like it's not a complicated theory. It's just the way that it's structured is a little confusing.
Very specific.
So the way that you're saying it is that the character that was introduced in the middle of the film, the coordinator, the stunt coordinator, Kurt Russell's character.
Yeah.
He is a wife-husband duo. They're both coordinators. The movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is him telling the story of this guy Cliff and this guy Rick Dalton.
Yeah.
I could see that because in the beginning it's an introduction of Rick Dalton and where he started in the 1960s making westerns and his stunt guy. And it's not like in the best of light, but it's also not in the like this piece of shit. It's just like this Rick Dalton and a stunt double. That's it.
Yeah.
And then any other scene that sort of delves into Cliff's history or his own little stories, they're not narration. There's just like Rick Dalton asked him to do something, so this is him doing that. Like it's not the narration part. Anytime it's the narration, it's both of them.
Yeah.
So I could totally see that. Like this movie just being a story of what the stunt coordinator is staying on that. Like I don't know.
I don't know.
I guess people don't put a lot of thought into it, but if you do even just put a little thought into it, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess like in simplified terms, like Kurt Russell's character. The movie is Kurt Russell's character telling the story of Cliff and Rick, and I would agree. I could see that. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Now here's the thing. The only reason I thought of that is because I was doing an impression of Kurt Russell. It's because there are rumors of him playing Jor-El in Superman Legacy.
Really?
Yeah, and I just was picturing him talking to baby Superman.
Clark.
Kal-El, my son of Krypton.
My name is Ego.
My name was Ego. Now it's Jor-El. I don't know. That was my little theory about Kurt Russell's character.
I agree. I would agree.
It's always
I
good
thought
seeing
you were
Kurt
gonna
Russell.
say something that like he's Snake Plissken.
He is. It's a prequel. It's a secret story about time travel. His life after he escaped New York.
When are we gonna get another Escape movie, Julius? I don't want a reboot. I want Kurt Russell back in another Escape movie, dude. I fucking loved Escape from New York, and when they came out with Escape from LA, I was like, yo, yes,
We're surfing.
fuck yes.
I'm down with Escape from 3 whatever. Florida. That would be Escape from DC. Oh, that would be pretty
probably.
cool. But
I would imagine, right? I've always assumed that was like the ultimate one because it's like the government and the apocalypse.
Government's
so like
coming
DC's
out.
the ending, right? The finale.
as long as it's Kurt Russell and Wyatt Russell, let's do it. Let's do it because those guys are awesome.
God, that man, he brought back. He single-handedly brought the trend of mesh, some black mesh tank tops. I gotta wear those again, man. Imagine Justin in a black mesh. God, I've
seen it.
I just think of Blade raves instantly, dude. Like,
Oh,
goths. Like
With the
what is
blood
the point of a
sprinklers?
mesh tank top, bro? Like you're showing your nips, you're showing everything.
I
You're not hiding anything.
Well, I think that's
they're
the
like
point.
tights. They're like,
I think that's
they're
the
like
point.
fish, like tights. Dude.
Do you mean like this where you see the holes?
Yeah,
You
like
see
mesh.
through?
It's mesh. Yeah,
Right.
So you could see through it, but it's like a tank top and
I think it's to express your
Plissken had one.
vulnerability.
express your nipples.
It's to show your vulnerable side. Show that you have nothing to hide, but when the
Or you know
ladies
what?
come after you, they have something to tear
wait.
off.
Actually, you know what? It makes sense.
What?
It was always worn by like beefcakes and shit.
Yeah,
it's probably shown to like show off the muscles
Exactly.
and shit without taking off. That is so douche. God.
See, I was just picturing like Louis C.K. in the black
In a mesh. Oh God, that's not an image I want to picture. I don't like Louis C.K. Even before the whole thing. Was it? Is it accusations or like no? Was he actually?
Yeah,
like,
it's real. It's totally real.
Well, what do you call it when it's like an actual, like
Allegations.
allegation? No, is it?
Well,
that
I mean-
still feels like it was a possibility. When is like,
Well,
hey, he actually did it. He's a molester. Can I say?
He okay, let's get back to all right, we're gonna talk about the finale of the film now.
Yeah,
Jesus,
let's
trying
get
to
back on track.
define what Louis C.K. did. What did he do? What was wrong?
I'm gonna eat my lemon cakes.
Jesus, Ruby, save him.
Please, my love.
I don't. Oh my god. Okay. So we got. It's like 6 months later, I think, after the initial day, which because the whole movie or the majority of the film is set over the course of a day, right? A day in Hollywood, and I love that sequence where everyone's wrapping up, going home, and everything. You see the lights come on and everything at the Cinerama Dome, the Taco Bell, the Arby's and shit. You know, it's beautiful. And we see they're coming back from Italy after having shot all these crappy, films with excellent posters. Excellent posters. You like the
Trailers, posters, everything. So good.
Beautiful. So they come
And a
back.
wife.
And a wife. Rick Dalton is married to this fine ass Italian chick, and he's gonna fire Francesca. He's gonna fire Cliff. It's gonna be their last night together. They're gonna get drunk and the acid cigarette and everything. And this is on the.
If you ever had to let me go, Julius, I would hope you buy me a beer
or an acid cigarette.
or an acid cigarette. I'll take an acid cigarette.
Yeah, and it's you smoking, it gets you high. And this is on the night that very real night, where the Manson family went up to the hills and committed their horrible act against Sharon Tate and her friends that were there in real life.
What was the actor that Cliff was based off?
Oh, it was an actual stunt guy, like an actual stunt dude. I think his name is Gene LaBelle, I believe, who was apparently like this real badass dude who knew Bruce Lee on these sets and knew that Bruce Lee was the real deal. So like they were friends.
Yeah, no. One of my favorite facts about this was like the guy that Cliff, who was influenced by Cliff, or I think like there was some, that guy. The actual guy, he had a problem with Manson,
Oh yeah,
back in
I've
the
heard
day.
about
Like,
that.
He
Yeah,
actually punched him back in the day. I was like, oh,
crazy.
yeah, it was a big action star of westerns and stuff. Because after the incident that happened, he carried a gun on him at all times after that.
Oh my god!
But like he actually like back in the day, he punched fucking Manson, and I'm like, I like that.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
And Charles Manson, by the way, does
Very
have a
fucking
scene in the
punchable
film.
face.
Yeah.
The actor that portrayed him, I don't think we talked about him.
No, we didn't.
Oh,
Amazing, and he shows up in I think
didn't
Mindhunter.
even need to like, I don't know, like, I guess with criminal justice, I've sort of always had this like blur background, like, oh, I know who this is. who
About
this
Charles
killer is.
Manson?
Yeah, about all these notorious serial
Right.
killers, you know.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's not somebody that I focused on, you know. There were other killers that were a bit more deranged, you know, that I would like, that got the spotlight, I would say.
Yeah.
But when I saw him on screen, like I knew who that
yeah.
was, you know,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm like, damn, that's good.
Yeah,
That's really good.
that actor's great. He was in Breaking Bad as the. Do you remember that scene in where Jesse and Mike are scoping that meth house out, and there's the guy in there with the shotgun, shirtless. He's yelling, "Tucker, Tucker!" it's that actor, and he reprised his role as Manson in Mindhunter. I forgot what season, but he played like a full-on scene as Charles Manson in prison. He's incredible. He is incredible.
I heard there was a lot of like bonus footage and extra scenes of him as Manson in this movie.
Yeah.
I wonder what those would be like, man.
He's just doing he goes full-on crazy in the scene because he's like, he walks back down to his creepy ass truck. He makes eye contact with Cliff Booth, who's on the roof and everything, and he just does this crazy like Tasmanian devil.
Did he go on his ranch yet? No, in that scene.
No, it was when Manson went up to the Tate house, and when he goes
so
up.
that was way before Brad went to the ranch. Went to the ranch.
Yeah. But so that actor is incredible. His name's Damon something. I'm sorry I don't know his full name, but incredible. He's an incredible actor. So here we are at the very end, and the cool thing about this movie, they put in Cliff Booth and Rick Dalton, and history changes ultimately. And the Manson family, after being yelled at by Rick Dalton of Bounty Law fame in the middle of the street with this fucking margarita that he just blended together.
I love that. That's like if I were to drive my car into the pole of the corner of Miles's new house, and he were to walk out in his bathrobe.
Oh
with
my god!
An apple orchard in his hand and apple pie in his other hand. Like, hey, that's not a parking spot, bro.
Get this hunk of shit off my street.
Yeah. It was amazing to see him yell at the fucking Manson family. And
get this mechanical asshole off my street.
Yes.
And they decide to kill them before going to the Tate house, and this is when history takes an insane left turn.
I think it takes a very welcome turn.
So Cliff Booth and his dog and Francesca and Rick Dalton take out the Manson family, and it's unbelievable. The reason why it was so shocking, I think, is because it's dealing with reality, but also because the movie was so held back.
Very visceral. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like I was waiting in anticipation for Tarantino to let loose. You know?
Yeah.
Like, you've seen his works. You know what to expect from the man. And, like, whereas people would show me about to punch you, they would cut away after, maybe, like, before I made contact, maybe even after I made contact. But Tarantino stays until after I punch you and you reel away and you look back up at me and I punch you again and it goes again and he just stays on it. And he shows you everything.
Insane.
And throughout the movie, there's the fabricated action scene that's like, all right, you know, it's from a movie. And then there's like, I think what you get close to that is where he goes into the ranch and the guy pops his tire. And
he just punches
just
him.
fucking, it's not one or two punches. He goes in and in. And you're like, all right, Tarantino, I see it.
We're building up, yeah.
But in that end, it's like, especially because you kind of like, you don't get lulled into like this sense of like calmness. It's more of a suspenseness because of what you said, because of like the incident that happened.
Yeah.
You don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
That it comes out of like crazy, especially because he just took an acid cigarette. It's not, he's
gets his dog in on it.
Yeah, like he is fucking like, and like you don't just assume he's gone. He's going about his normal routine that they showed earlier, but he's like very fucking inebriated, you know? Yeah. Like they don't have to tell you, they show you.
Yeah.
And so you just don't know what to expect, but he fucking, hey, the man killed 30 people in Vietnam. Like it fucking shows.
And they also established like, you know, it was very smart of them to show that scene with Bruce Lee, him fighting, to show that he could take on these these killers, because that's kind of where the Bruce Lee scene kind of emulates the ending, in that it's the fantasy kind of taking over where reality is just really sad and dark. You know what I mean? Like, this is what we really, I'm not a pro murder or whatever, or anything like that, or pro violence especially. And Tarantino has had this whole dialogue throughout his whole career about violence. You know what I mean? Whether it implicates real violence, right?
Why the need for so much gruesome, graphic violence? Why not let us imagine
because
a little
it's so much fun, Jan. Get
Really?
it?
Oh, really? Okay, I'd like to see you walk down the street and get attacked by some kids who've just seen your movie.
But see, Jan, you're all messed up because you're talking about real life.
Oh,
and I'm
I see.
talking
And kids
about
at
the
12,
movies. You got to
kids
get
at
it straight.
12.
Now, if you want to talk about the movies, we'll talk about the movies.
This movie, I felt, was a very interesting look into that conversation, because I was watching it and then my mom came home and then she was watching it with me, and it gets pretty insane. You know what I mean? The violence gets, it's like the curb stomp. He takes the redhead chick and like slams her head into everything, and then the torch. That one chick just keeps on screaming.
See, but to me, that's just not even someone who's a fan of gore or of violence. That's just someone who wants to show the audience something like that they don't want to cut away from. They want to show them something real. They want to show them something intense, something that will make their jaws, open.
Yeah.
It's not like the violence isn't focused. The violence isn't centered. It's a part of it, but I mean, I'm pretty sure I've heard him say like, it's just a way of telling the story. Like,
yeah.
And I agree with it, because it's like, yeah, there's these things where it's like, hey, that's a little much, but it's like, it's not like he's saying this is like, oh, this is the answer. Usually people are pushed to the extreme before they get to that point. And it's always like, it's not the point of his stories. So yeah. I never saw the point in that argument, because like, unless you can tell when a director is like purposefully making this so gratuitous and so uncomfortable for you that he shot it to be like, I want this reaction from you.
Well, I think I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think the thing is about this is that it is focused on because of what really happened in real life, and because she obviously got uncomfortable watching it, because it is very, like, it's just in your face what's going on to these people, the Manson family, and how violent. Like,
well, that's the thing. It's not the point of it. It's
right.
not the main. Hey, I'm telling the whole story, the whole movie, just to be like, for this one scene. He just, not to sound vulgar, he'll just show it. Like, he has the courage or the balls, whatever, to show it.
Yeah.
And although it's, like you said, it's a bit much, it's not the point of it, though. He's just not afraid to show it, which I feel is a different point in all,
I think the point is that whatever the reasons he went to these extremes, he brought in a flamethrower out, is because the reason he went that crazy with it is because no matter how insane the violence got at the end of this movie, it is nowhere near as bad or as disturbing as what happened in real life.
True.
Because it's a fantasy. Yeah. It's a movie. It's not real. This is not what we would have liked to have happened. For some people it probably is, but what I'm saying is that this shouldn't have happened. And what they were trying to do, what the Manson family was trying to do to incite a race war, this insane cultist shit. Like, this is a tragedy, and this is he makes these people jokes and cartoons, and they're not taken seriously. They're dumb. They're idiots. They're just sheep to what Manson sent them to do and everything, and they get what they deserve because the real people went to jail, and you can see photos of them online going to jail, arrested, smiling, awful after doing something so terrible to an innocent people. Like, Hollywood is crazy, but no one deserves to go out the way these people did, and that's why I think this movie represents kind of violence in a way that Django did, in the way that something like Inglourious Basterds did, where it's about revenge, but it's also about justice in a very dark, crazy, violent way.
I mean, that's another reason why I didn't see the criticism of violence to the movie as being justified. Because I'm like, if you're gonna say that, like, oh, it was too much, but be a fan of that, but be like, oh yeah, no, because that was a way for us to let out our anger and our grievances. Yeah. Then how are some people going to comment that it was too much? Like, yeah. I don't know. I was hearing both sides where I'm just like, yeah, it's a filmmaker's choice, and he, I think, handled it very well. Like, it was
saving
it was a lot. Yeah, it was a lot, and in a story should be handled sensitively, I think he did a good job, and he still let loose in the way that his own signature style. Yeah. And it was directed at, like, something that we can all unanimously be like, not that, oh yeah, sick 'em, right, but literally, like, yeah, get it, but they can sort of understand the gore, where it's like not even about Tarantino, what is your obsession with violence? They did some fucked up shit, so, like, can you blame them? No, so it's kind of like, like, what's the criticism here?
It's a real painful
hate them for showing
in
it,
history,
but you also can't hate them for showing hey, they robbed us of a beautiful soul and another soul that was to come. So I'm gonna let out what I feel, and how are people gonna be like, oh, that's too much, like, no,
I think people maybe think, like, if they look at the ending of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and think it's disturbing,
I think if they focus on the violence too much.
But there's also the context of it, like, there's always been, for Tarantino, the context of the violence, like with Django is the ultimate, like, he tried to, what he did with that was, how he describes it, giving black people a superhero about what sets black people behind in society because of slavery.
And that's the nuance that I think Tarantino fans should bring with them in these movies, and not just see these movies for, not even just surface level movies, but like, oh, this is Tarantino's movie, he's gonna do this, he's gonna do that. Look even deeper than that. Like you said, the movie Django and this movie, in the end, these are events where people feel really strongly about. Django, a whole group of people feel strongly about. The movies that he has this gratuitous violence are where people, they're not feeling slightly bothered. There's generations of emotions, intense, passionate emotions. Yeah. These feelings are like, why wouldn't there be this intense fight? Why wouldn't there be a lash out? Yeah. Yeah. Like, understand what these movies are talking about. Yeah. And sort of don't like excuse the behavior as violence. No, understand that these are, a lot of people felt a certain way about it, and he's letting out these frustrations. And part of the reason why some people enjoy them is because they can relate to them. They want to be able to do that, so they can live through it,
Yeah, I mean, the end of this, where we see the Manson family get fucking destroyed, it would, for me, it's the equivalent of, like, Raiders of the Lost Ark at the very end.
It's cathartic.
Where,
that's what I mean by people shouldn't focus on the violence. Yes, it's gratuitous, and yes, you can't deny that there's violence. But what I mean by the point of the violence is exactly that. Like, it's the violence is just used as a tool. Yeah. Yes, it's more on screen and more intense than other forms of violence shown, but it's only to display the amount of intense emotions that come with the context of the situation.
Yeah, I mean, what do we see at the end of the first Indiana Jones film? We see the Nazis get fucking because of what they're trying to do with this relic of it's a Hebrew relic, I believe, the Ark of the Covenant. They trying to exploit that. And that is very much Jewish revenge. You know, it's been described as that the end of that, where you see the Nazis get exactly what they deserve. Their faces are melting off. They blow up and everything. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's very much what I think the ending of this is.
And that's sort of like the relief or sort of release that art as a medium can give to people, is that expression that they wouldn't have otherwise. And I think people focus on the surface level of the violence, and they're not focused on people using the violence as a way to let out their emotions about the subject, about the topic, because what's the whole point about it is the movie, the topic about it, not the violence.
I mean, the point is that at the end, Sharon Tate in this little what if world, reality, whatever, gets to live on.
She gets to meet Rick Dalton.
She gets to meet Rick Dalton.
Dinner, man.
Bounty
Honestly,
law.
That would be my only post-it note on this on Tarantino's movie. He would look at it and throw it in the trash immediately. What the fuck is this? But it would be, hey, can you include more of a connection between Rick Dalton and Sharon Tate? I would imagine why the way the movie's structured, it's very much two stories apart coming together in the finale. But if there was not even in the whole scene or even halfway, but just an act before that final act where they're actors and they live right next door to each other, how could they not interact except for that one moment where they said hello, or it'd be nice. And I would imagine maybe they just didn't want to include too much. They wanted to save conservative with Sharon Tate's appearances, and that's fine. But if you are already in this fantastical world where you completely changed history, why not include a scene or two of them talking? It would be nice to see this imaginary but relatable silhouette of an actor, and this historical yet reimaginative role of an actress, that was my only note. All right, Tarantino, don't fucking kill me. That's the only note I had. One fucking scene.
Here's the thing. Are their feet included? If there are feet, I'm for it. Let's shoot it. Let's fucking shoot it.
There are no feet. Don't waste my time. Get out.
I think what you just said is why that when they do meet at the end hits so hard, where especially when she asks if he's okay. I think that was, I think that's what he had been waiting to hear for so long. And he's just so he's a crazy self-loathing actor, and finally got his break.
There's a lot of I don't want to say relatability, because he's very hard on himself, but everyone's hard on himself. Everyone's going to be their worst critic. And when it comes to acting, oh boy, are you your worst critic.
Yeah.
And so he's a little dialed up to 11, but at the end, it's a trait that we can all relate to, that we cannot shake. We are going to carry with us until the end of our days. And he exemplifies it in a very realistic way. Yeah. In a way that's maybe we can't completely understand the nuances of it because he is a celebrity, but it's sort of this down to earth celebrity. This person who he's too honest with himself to hide his emotions. If he's struggling in life, he's gonna show it to everyone, not by choice.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see on screen.
I'd like to star in some Italian spaghetti westerns. Shit, that sounds. I had that freak out after we shot that scene with me in there with the blood on, and I still had the blood
makeup.
On. Yeah, lost my fucking lines. Oh my god. Well, I think that's a perfect place to wrap it up. Oh my god, look how long we've been going on. Perfect. This is nearly the length of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Wow.
I'm very excited for Tarantino's next and last film. It's apparently Brad Pitt's in talks to star in it. So a reunion of the goats, as it were.
That would be amazing.
Yes. It would be amazing. I would love to see that.
You know what? Their friendship, I'd liked to see that there was no ulterior motive in it. There was no, you saved my life, I'm saving yours. I mean, there was you saved my career type of thing. But it was also like, even if you didn't give him a job, I'm still going to be your friend type thing, you know? And it was very nice to see. Very warming to see.
It is endearing. It's at the very end,
it honestly
nice.
changed the way that I approach friends and cousins and family, you know? Where it's like, hey, I can't be there for you all the time, but the way that Cliff just utters a sentence or something and you feel, oh, that's nice, you know? Like, yeah, I'd like to be able to do that to other people. So it's nice to see, and it's, you know, a little influential.
Well, you've done that for me many times.
I wish.
You're Rick fucking Dalton.
Epic.
Yeah,
epic,
man.
Epic line.
It was great. And I love this film. I love you, Andrew. Thank you so much for coming over
brother.
and recording this new podcast with me.
I'd love to be back at it. Reminds me of old times.
Oh,
honestly.
God.
And
now
I like that.
It's just us.
Talk. Yeah.
The cauliflower wings and then microphones.
God, fucking fire. If this man did not tell you he's a chef, my God. You put him next to a picture of Jeremy Allen White, I couldn't tell the difference. Oh, God. This man just cooked up a batch of cauliflower wings. Amazing.
Yeah, when Andrew came over, I was like, cousin, you have to come here.
We ran out of chicken, cousin.
97 chicken wings.
It was amazing.
All right, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks, guys, for listening. Listen again and again and again. And hopefully next episode, I'll have someone that I've been wanting to have on in the next 2 weeks. I'm trying to do them every 2 weeks. Thinking maybe Sebastian is going to make his debut.
It's Hugh Jackman's cousin. Sebastian Jackman.
Sebastian is here to class up your little YouTube channel.
Let me add some flair.
Let me legitimize.
Well, I can't wait for that man to be on air. Y'all better tune in.
Yeah, listen up. All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening. And by the way, thank you, Ruby, for these lemon droplets. They're beautiful.
They were delicious. I love you, baby.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.